Staple foods such as potatoes, the more ways you can have them, the better. Today we're going to be looking at making some Hasselback potatoes. Stay tuned, see how it's done. I'm going to be making 2 potatoes here, so I have half a cup of oil, 1/4 cup of butter, several cloves of garlic, and of course my 2 potatoes. Russets, of course. I'm going to begin the process here by taking my garlic and just running it through the garlic press. If you don't have a garlic press, just mince it up nice and small and all is good. We're going to be making a infused garlic oil that I'm going to be using with these potatoes. Again, that's probably not actually necessary to do, so saucepan on the stove, we'll crank our heat up to medium, and then we're able to add our oil, and then we'll add our garlic. And we're just going to let this kind of cook down for a little while. You don't want to cook it too long, because if you overcook the garlic, it tastes horrendous. And it doesn't really matter if you cook it enough either. You just kind of cook it enough that some of the flavor of the garlic gets into the oil, which is no real big deal by any means. And once it starts to kind of cook after a couple minutes, then you want to add your butter into the mix, and then just kind of let your butter melt into it, let it boil up a little bit, and take it off the heat. I happen to really like infused garlic oil, so I like using it for this type of project. If you're not really a big garlic fan, or you're cooking for somebody that's not a big garlic fan, of course you don't need to go through all this, just use the oil as is. Or melt the oil with butter, that would be probably the better way to do it. In order to make a Hasselback potato, we need to slice the potato, but not all the way through, so it's still held together. In order to do that, I'm going to be using 2 spoons as parallels, and then set the potato in between the 2 spoons. And then when I cut down, I cut towards the spoons, and the spoons limit my cut, so I have a maximum depth of cut, and there's a minimum amount of potato left over, so it doesn't just all fall apart. And potatoes, because they are kind of slanted objects, you do bigger slices on the ends, or else you'll just go right through it. Unless you have a really flat potato, then you can kind of go all the way to the end, but that's not the case here. So we just keep cutting slices from one side to the other. And you want them about 1/4 of an inch thick or so. Although you can do as thick or as thin as you want, but more slices is probably better, because then you have more crisp factor. And once you're done slicing, I like to go through and kind of make sure that they all are kind of separated and they're about the right size. And if there's something too thick, I just go back and I cut it again. I cut the slice in half, so it all kind of works out to being the same, so it's kind of nice that way. And once we're done slicing our potatoes, then we'll go grab our garlic oil butter mixture, and we'll just drizzle that on the top of it. Now, I have quite a bit of it here for this amount of potatoes, which is good, because you don't really want to run out, and it takes time to make infused garlic oil. And just kind of getting some of the chunks of the garlic here. Now what I'm going to be doing with these chunks of garlic, I'm actually going to try to spread them in between the different layers of the potato, and that will kind of act as a way of keeping the pieces separated from each other, to allow for more surface area on the cooking process, which I thought was a nifty idea. You definitely want to make sure that the potatoes are completely covered in your oil butter mixture. That really helps with the skin of potato when you bake it as well, so there's some multiple aspects to it. Something I was going to say earlier is that if you want to make these potatoes a lot faster, you can do them the same as baked potatoes, where you can put them in the microwave for set amount of time and then bake them afterwards, and then it takes a lot less time to cook. And once we're done with our basting, we get out our pepper and our salt, and we put some cranks on top. If you want to put chives and something else on, you could do that now as well. Either way, we're going to toss these in the oven. I'm going to bake them at 350 degrees for about an hour, then I'm going to see how they are, then probably end up cooking them another 20 minutes. Probably should have put them in the microwave for 15 before starting. That way it'd be ready at the same time as my roast beef. Something you can do is rebaste them every like 20 minutes while they're in the oven, and you might be able to get a nicer finish on them. But this worked out pretty good for me, and seeing as it's having it with roast beef, I just put a little bit of gravy on top, and it was delicious. So let me know in the comments below how you make your Hasselback potatoes, or if you make them at all. And please like and subscribe if you like my content. And until next time, stay awesome.